Nathaniel here, and welcome back to our bi-weekly report. I'd like to start this episode off with an update on the T57 tank model we mentioned during the last episode. The model has been successfully delivered to the National Armor and Cavalry Museum in Fort Benning, where it can be added to the collection for preservation and educational purposes. Check out the National Armor and Cavalry Museum Facebook page for more detailed photos of this model and some additional information provided by the curator. As always, we invite you to also check out our recently published article on the T57 for a more in-depth look at the tank itself. We would also like to remind our followers that as a reward for your support provided via GoFundMe, we shall be providing a poster of the T57 at the low cost of absolutely free. There is a link for it in the description. For this week's book report, I would like to mention a new piece that shall be arriving in a few months. A week ago, I had the honor of meeting one of the last surviving tank aces of World War II, a gentleman by the name of Clarence Schmoyer. Schmoyer was a gunner in a T26E3 Pershing tank during the Second World War as a member of the 3rd Armored Division, also known as Spearhead. This new book, also titled Spearhead, details the personal story of Schmoyer as he fought his way through Normandy, Hürtgen, the Bulge, and the closing of the Ruhr Pocket. However, the most famous action that Schmoyer participated in was in the Battle of Koln, for it was during this engagement that his T26E3 engaged a Panther for the first time. Some of you might have seen the video online of an M4 being knocked out, with a wounded survivor crawling out of the top of the turret, and in the next scene, a T26E3 rolling forward to engage the Panther, shooting it 3 times and setting it aflame. These shots were fired by Schmoyer himself, and the book goes into greater detail about his personal experiences during the engagement. In the video, it can be seen that some of the German crew escapes, and the book uncovers their experiences as well. It is found out that one of the German tankers sent to fight Schmoyer was a soldier by the name of Gustav Schaefer, and the book covers the meeting and developing friendship between Schmoyer and Schaefer decades after the war ended. Finally, the book also details the experiences of an American Doe fighting with the tanks by the name of Buck Marsh, and how his task was vital to the survival of American armor during the conflict. While we are not endorsing a book that we have not fully read yet, it is one that I, personally, shall be keeping on my radar. The author, Adam Makos, who wrote the New York Times bestseller, A Higher Call, has informed me that the book shall be released on February 19th, and after we read it, we shall provide a more in-depth review of its contents. But from what I experienced during meeting with Clarence Schmoyer, I am expecting a very rewarding and educational read. In the gaming world, the dev server of the new War Thunder patch has just launched, and boy is it a big one. Besides the new supersonic planes that will be bugging our tanking comrades, a litany of new ground vehicles will be added. These include the American M3 Bradley and Japanese Type 89 infantry fighting vehicles, the Soviet T-72A, the British Challenger Mark III, the Israeli Shat Kal Dalet main battle tank, the French AMX-10 RC wheeled tank destroyer, and most requested, the new Italian tank tree. This new tree features highly awaited vehicles, such as the Caro Veloce L3 tank destroyer variant, the Caro Medio, and the Caro Presente series of tanks, the Autoblinda armored cars, and the long list of Simovente self-propelled guns. However, modern vehicles, such as the OF-40 main battle tanks, Sidam and automatic self-propelled AA guns, and Centauro wheeled tank destroyers. The gaps in the trees are, just as for the French and Japanese, filled with American vehicles with which the players should be well familiar with. You can read articles about a lot of these new vehicles on our website. Go check the articles out before you hop into the battles. For the first new article of this report, we present the A46 light tank. Based off the Tetrarch and Harry Hopkins light tanks, The new adaptation to these Vickers tanks was to mount the 77mm gun from the Comet for greater stopping power compared to its predecessors. Developed parallel to the FV200 heavy tank line and the Centurion, the A46 was to be designed with modularity in mind, so that it could be adapted for commanded support roles as well. The design was tinkered around with for a bit, and eventually a full-scale mock-up was started. However, the light tank was discontinued, with some of the work continuing as an APC version. From here, the project was cancelled in favor of the FV300 line of vehicles, which were themselves also abandoned. English tank development, so fascinatingly mind-boggling. This article was written by Ed Francis and illustrated by Yuvnashna Sharma, with funds from our Patreon campaign. The next article we'd like to tell you about covers the Valiant infantry tank A38. This heavy infantry tank was also developed by Vickers with the intention of replacing the Matilda and the Valentine. Following these previous variants of armor, the A38 was designed upon the Vanguard, a little-known vehicle related to the Archer and Valentine chassis. The Valiant also featured a pike-nose shape coupled with thick frontal armor to provide a formidable level of protection not seen until the IS-3 years later. However, development transferred from Vickers to Rolls-Royce, who worked on the engine deck design, so that Vickers can focus on its already existing tasks. A few months later, production was transferred to Ruston and Hornsby, but due to a lack of experience in designing armored vehicles, several fatal flaws developed, such as uneven armor coverage, weakness in the turret ring, and an increased total weight. The final nail in the coffin was the cross-country trials that were conducted, in which an overtaxed drivetrain, difficult control scheme, and technical faults all contributed to the A38 being cancelled. This article was written by Gabe Farrell, and the illustration was provided by David Bocale.
Hi Nathaniel, mind if I cut in? Hi, I'm Ed from Plain Encyclopedia. Recently, we took a look at the EF-18 Hornet. Not to be confused with its American cousin, the FA-18 Hornet, the EF-18 Hornet is an export variant for the Spanish Air Force. The E stands for España and the F for fighter. The Spanish government chose the Hornet over the F-16 in the mid-80s, and so far has acquired about 96 copies. Although the Hornet was exported to many other countries, Spain was the first European customer. The article was written by Dr. Joe Bauer, with illustrations by Hario Panji. Please be sure to check it out. And back to you, Nathaniel.
Besides these two articles, in the past 2 weeks, we also published pieces on the Spanish Trubia Naval tank, the Italian Semovente M6 self-propelled gun, the M1150 assault breacher vehicle based on the Abrams, and the Comet Crocodile test rig. You can find links to all of them in the description. This was all for this week. If you haven't already, consider donating over on Patreon. There's a link in the description. All of the funds are used to pay for the beautiful illustrations that accompany every one of our articles. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss our reports or any future features. Also, please don't forget to check out our website for new articles, and you can also check us out on Facebook, where we post interesting photos and questions, or on Twitter, Instagram. I'm Nathaniel, and until next time, keep us in your sights.